Hello, I'm David C. Linton from Jazz 91.9 WCLK, and welcome to another edition of Forever Young. Forever Young is a series of part of a series of programs created by Hope TV and the House of Hope Atlanta. I'd like to thank our pastor, Dr. Dewey Smith, for having this vision, because we're all kind of sheltered in place. And so we decided to come up with a series of programs that will entertain, lighten, and give you a little, put a smile on your face every now and then during this period. Forever Young. Well, you know, this program celebrates seniors, whatever a senior might be. I don't even know how I'm the host of this program, but that's another story. We want to talk about Forever Young because, as we said in last week's program, age ain't nothing but a number. You know, you're as young as you feel, and you do as long as you can. So we're going to talk about that next chapter. What do you do? Because everything is, based on systems, 6 to 12, 12 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 40. And they say life begins at 40. So everything else is a dress rehearsal. So when you get to that 40, 50 run, as I like to call it, and you hit that 60 number, what happens? And so we're going to explore that. We started talking about that last week with two young ladies. And actually, one of them was so energetic, we had to bring her back. And so she's going to be our co-host. And I'm so happy to have her here. She is the beautiful Miss Jean Hendricks. Jean, good morning.
Good morning, David. Good evening. How are you? I'm delighted to serve as your co-host. Now I have a new title to add to my resume. I'm delighted to be here. And as we begin, let me share something with you that I think is very important or that might mean something to other people other than myself. It is a song that was written by Jill Scott, and I have paraphrased it. And it is entitled, Still Here. I am a boisterous river. I am a mountain story. I am a quiet feeling. I am a fragrant flower. I am a moonlight evening. I am a peaceful night. I am a writer's thinking. I am a wealth unfathomed. And if you don't recognize my presence, I am here. And if you don't recognize me, I am here. I am a source of power. I am an excited journey. I am the rock of patience. I am a whisper singing. I am an unbridled freedom. I am the thought from thinking. I am a love unshattered. I am a living dream to win. And if you don't recognize my presence, I am here. If you don't recognize my presence, I am here. I am forever young.
That's perfect. That's a perfect way to introduce yourself and this program, because again, it's Forever Young. And of course, Jill Scott, we know, is a platinum selling artist, and she kind of encapsulated that in that poem. Thank you for sharing that with that. Of course, we've got some exciting guests tonight. We couldn't do this show without them. Our first guest is a young lady who has worn many hats, and we're going to bring her on and let her tell you a little bit about herself, because I don't want to mess it up. She's done so much, you might miss something. So she's going to come on and share a little bit about herself. Dr. Sharon Mitchell.
Good morning. Good evening. How's everybody doing? I'm Dr. Sharon Mitchell, and as David said, he doesn't know how he got on this show. And of course, you can see how youthful I am. I don't know how I got on this show. But nevertheless, I have had a number of chapters in my life. I've been a mom, I've been a wife, I've been an executive, I've been a first lady, and I've also co-hosted and co-pastored a church with my husband. And so I have had a number of careers. I've had a number of chapters in my life. I've done a number of things. And I'm just so excited that I am still here, as Jill Scott has shared, and as Ms. Hendricks has shared. I'm still here, still feeling like I have more to give, and excited to be at the House of Hope Atlanta as an executive pastor. Another one of my many chapters in life that I'm enjoying the most and feel that I still have some more energy. And I do believe that age is just a number. So I believe there's more to come from me. And thank you for having me as a guest on the show today.
Well, we're excited to have you here. And now, our final guest is a young man who has he has a breadth of experience. He's also a member of the House of Hope Atlanta. When you see him moving about, you know that this guy's got it going on. And I want to introduce my friend and now yours, Mr. Bobby Wilborn, or Deacon Bobby Wilborn. We'll do the official title, but I call him Bobby, and you can too. Welcome.
Welcome. Good to see everybody. Good to talk to everybody today. I guess I'm supposed to give you a little bit about myself. I'm retired in engineering from Mass Transit. I'm a previous recording artist as well. I was married for over 40 years and decided to redo it recently, and I'm very happy with it. As we've mentioned earlier, life ain't nothing but a number, and it's about age ain't nothing but a number rather, and it's about how you feel and what you're going to do or what you expect. So I got a lot more living to do. I'm a real estate investor, a market trader, and that's what I do every day. So retirement is not in the picture right now unless it is something that I just want to do. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. And I mean, again, what we're talking about today is second chapters, because again, everybody has a second chapter. I mean, my first chapter was a radio broadcaster. The second chapter was a music executive. And now in this chapter, I'm back in radio. But again, it's about staying active and doing that. So tell me, Dr. Mitchell, what is your current chapter? We know you're doing some things. How do you make that transition? Or Jean, either how do you make those transitions and get ready for that next chapter?
For me, I actually thought I was preparing for a different career for a second chapter. I spent about 25 years as an executive in the public sector, managing and in administration. And at the same time, I co-pastored the church with my husband as an executive pastor. And I thought that my second chapter would be something where I would actually be in an academic institution. So I went at age 50, I decided to go back and get a second doctorate degree that would prepare me for a role in healthcare. I was trying to help some of our seasoned saints pre-Obama Day care days with navigating insurance issues and trying to get through the red tape. And so I wanted to arm myself with an additional degree that would help me do that. And in the midst of that, I started volunteering at church. I relocated into Atlanta. And after the relocation, we had a sudden death of my husband. And so I found myself not only having to talk about a chapter in terms of my career, but also removing the role as a wife and a co-partner in ministry. So my chapter came about as a result of a loss. And with the loss, I found myself having to reinvent myself. We hear those words these days, reinvent yourself or reimagine yourself. And so I found myself doing what came natural to me, which was to be a servant. And so being a servant put me into a role where I connected with the House of Hope Atlanta. And here I am in this next chapter as an executive pastor, doing something that I love, fulfilling a call that no matter where you go, if there's a call in your life, you find yourself operating in that call. And so that's how I found myself in this next chapter. And very excited about it, very passionate about it. It's given me some opportunities, it's renewed some energy. And it's interesting that when you're in your role of passion, you feel the energy, it energizes you. I wake up every day with a new excitement about what I'm doing in this chapter of my life.
Well, that's great. Jean.
Yes.
I'll throw it to you so you can share a little bit, and then you can take it from there. We'll roll from there.
All right. I am spending this part of my life, this chapter of my life, doing a lot of traveling, as you have mentioned before, and also doing a lot of grandparenting when I am on the land here in Georgia. I found all of my life to be a person that was always interested in doing something new as long as it was legal, going to places that was good for you, for your health, for your entertainment, as long as it was legal. And God was involved in it, of course. Okay. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But
Amen.
I'm excited too about this part of my life. I too, as Dr. Mitchell shared, my husband passed away a few years ago, quite recently, but I still consider myself being married to him. And this has freed me up, not really freed me, but me now to do more traveling than I have ever done before. When my husband was alive, we traveled a lot because he was a military person. And I think that's where I got my niche into always wanting to go places that I've never gone before, but I have read about. So currently, my goal right now is to go to Africa, and from there to China or Japan. Those are my three places that I want to go as far as distance is concerned right now. So I'm involved in a lot of traveling and a lot of reading. If I can't get there, I find books to read or to look through in order to imagine myself one day being there. And I put my name in the script. You know, whenever there's a script, I put my name in it. I make it real to me. So that's part of what I'm doing in this phase of my life. Also, now I have now become a co-host. Didn't know that until yesterday. So that's something new I'm going to take on as a co-host. But listen, on that one, they're going to pay me real good for this for the next show I go on. But I'm loving it. I'm excited. Everybody wants to see this beautiful face and to hear this gorgeous voice of mine. I'm excited about that. So it's all good. And again, I appreciate you thinking enough of me to ask me to come back on for a second time. I'm by that. Thank you so much.
Okay, we've heard about new careers and new adventures, especially the legal ones. But what about love? Well, let's talk about love. I mean, we know Bobby is, he mentioned being formerly married, and now he's talking about a new love. So let's talk about new love in this chapter. Bobby, I'm going to let you do that. Let you start that one off.
Well, it's still exciting. I was married for over 40 years, and my wife passed away. And we talked about it a lot because she was sick during a period of time. We talked about a lot, what would I do when she leaves? And she wanted me to be happy. She wanted me to find love again, if that's what I desired. And in order to keep myself mobile and moving along and knowing how I am, I did just that. I've been now married for almost 2 years to a young lady that's beautiful, has a beautiful soul, beautiful spirit, and loves God. And that was the whole thing, finding somebody that loves God, that we can share things together and understand what God would want us to do as a couple. So that's what I've done. And from that, it has gone well. And right now I'm still working. Like I said, I do market day trading as well. And I'm a real estate investor. So it's working out for me. And even though the corona thing has hit us here for a moment, and it slowed me down a little bit. Maybe I needed to do that. Now it's all in God's hands. But I'm happy where I am, and I'm planning on moving forward. So I just always want to do what I want to do, travel and do things, and that's what I'm doing now, just enjoying myself, because I retired originally at the age of 55. And so I'm at a point in my life where I just want to move on and do some things and enjoy my new wife, of course.
Wonderful.
Well, you know what? I understand that about the romance, because I love my wife and my girlfriend, and they're both happy. They just happen to be the same person.
They are the one, I'm sure.
They're the same person, but sometimes she's my wife, sometimes she's my girlfriend, because again,
I got you.
We've been married 38 years, so you have to do things to make it interesting, to say the least. Now, Gene, when you read that poem about making a stance and being here, what do you see yourself as a senior, for lack of a better term, any of you, having to make a stance to younger people about being here? Sometimes young people overlook people who are seasoned. I like that term a little bit better.
Yes, I do.
Because, of course, when you're 14 and 13, you know everything. So how do you feel about that? Letting people know that I'm here.
Yes, I think that young people in particular may not seem as they're listening to the wisdom or the corrections that we may say to them, or we may make to them, or they may see us do or say. But I think also within young people's heart, deep down inside somewhere, there is a conscience that you have said something to them, or you have lived the type of life in front of them that will influence their lives later on in life. We may not see it right now, but later on in life. Let me give you a quick example. I taught school for 30 years. And recently, I'm not sure why this happened, just recently, within the last year, I have had several young people to come to me now that they're older. And one young man does my yard. And he said to me, they basically say the same thing. Ms. Hendricks, thank you for the corrections that you made for me or did for me when I was in school. And they were in high school. And I was a teacher who had a strong arm. And there were certain things you just didn't say. There were certain things you just didn't do in front of me. And I would correct them. And now they thank me for it because I stood up to them. And sometimes if I had to call the parent and say to them, this happened at school, and the parents would either correct them or they wouldn't. But whatever the reason was when they got home, now in life, they realize how much they appreciate what I said. This last example, I was walking one day and I was going around this church and no one goes around. And all of a sudden this car pulled up behind me. I said, oh my gosh, somebody's going to attack me. The young man got out, got down on his knees, and Ms. Hendricks, I just want to thank you. This is my wife and children, all because of you. Is the reason I have a job and I'm married and I have my life together. So the things that we do and say to young people now, believe it or not, it sticks in their head, most of them anyway. We just have to wait and see it materialize.
You know, Jean, you said something really important, because I was getting ready to transition to Bobby about that, because especially when it comes to young men, you know,
Yes.
we hear the stats about kids growing up without fathers, etc.
Right.
So what about, how do you translate that in a mentor or to mentees, Bobby, from a male perspective?
Well, from a male perspective, I had two kids, and one was a son. I think having a man around the house, or having a man that influences, or have some kind of injection into children's life is very important. I've been around young kids all my life. In my previous church, I was a music coordinator there, and was responsible for asking people to take certain roles that deal with children, especially young men. And I worked with the youth director at the church. That's why I met Greg Kirtland. He was also a youth director at his church, previous church, before he came to House of Hope. I've always loved kids. I've always enjoyed talking to the youth. I believe in being open-minded, to let them know that the mistakes you make today is not something not one that somebody hasn't already made. And Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's a situation where we live and we learn. But I like to influence them by talking to them and giving them direct instructions as to what I think should happen based on my experience of dealing with men. So I just feel like it is very important to have a man around, or somebody that's willing to share information and some of the experiences they've gone through, to let the young people know that what you go through today is not something that has not been lived or gone through by somebody else. So I believe in being real. I think that's very important.
Well, thank you for
Bobby,
that. If I just want to remind people.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Continue that thought. I just want to remind people that you're looking at Hope TV, and we encourage you to share this on your platforms. This is a production of Hope TV from House of Hope Atlanta, and of course, you can find us on Twitter, all social media platforms, Facebook, etc. So please share this program. Jean, continue.
I was just going to comment on Bobby's statement about having a man around young boys as they grow up. I think it is so important that men share their wisdom with young boys, even if there is no male in the house. I'm sure most single women know of a God-fearing man, or if they bring them to church, they need that influence from an older person, an older man who has been around for a while, who maybe has even raised his own son or his own children. So I wanted to commend Bobby Bobby, on saying that part about it's important that boys and young men have men around them as they grow up. And this is where we as forever young seniors come in. We can make ourselves available to our neighbors who may be living and there's a single mother. We know a single mother who has boys in their household. This is where we can make ourselves available to them. And it doesn't always have to be, let me tell you something. It just be, let's go for a walk or let's go bowling or something of that type. So they will know they have some type of interaction with a strong man.
Amen.
Now, Dr. Mitchell, that's a good point. Very good. Now, Dr. Mitchell, we're going to do a little transition here. I mean, when we talk about, making a transition, what was the most difficult part, or if it was difficult, of starting a new chapter? And how did you know when it was time to start a new chapter?
Well, I had contemplated wanting to have a career after having worked for 25 plus years in one industry. So for me, it was preparation. So the transition for me in terms of preparation was whether I was in the right place that God wanted me to be. I had a number of options in terms of what that next career path would be. Because I wanted to be a teacher. I believe that as you become more seasoned, then you have something to offer by way of coaching. Very similar to what Deacon Wilburn just shared in terms of how you mentor, whether you become the mentor versus the mentee. Do you have something to offer? So I saw myself going into a transition of coaching. But for me, the transition was difficult because at the time that I was transitioning, I also was having a loss in terms of the loss of companionship and a husband and someone on the journey with me. So I found myself having to be the person that God made me to be, which was to pull from within what I felt I had to offer the world. And what's interesting is that when you start a path and you submit that to the Lord, He will direct that path for you. And so I believe that my move, God move, it was something that I was looking in one direction and God had something totally different. And when you seek God, He will indeed give you the signs that you need, put the right people in place, and then your path is carved for you. So for me, it was really a time of seeking God in terms of what is this next, especially when you're seasoned and you've done a number of things in your life, whether it's in a career or whether you've had a connection with other people. You can do a lot of different things, but you want to be doing the thing that God called you to do. You want to be in the thing that God can use you and that you can both help others and that you yourself can be made whole. And so I found myself thinking I was just seeking a career coming to House of Hope. And I found that I became community. And for someone who was new into the state, someone who came with a family member and then saw a loss, community became a great part of even my own healing. So while I got a career, I got a whole lot more than just a career. In this journey. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. But you said something really important because you talked about making a transition. Volunteerism always comes up. So it puts in the whole thing as you're changing directions or moving in new chapters. Do you still find at this stage of life, do you still have mentors or the need for mentors?
I do.
Bobby?
Yes.
I do. I want everybody to answer that question because I think it's really a good question to find out how as you transition into new roles. And we've got about 10 minutes, so we want to keep it moving, but continue. Go ahead,
For me, yes, I still have mentors just for accountability, for if nothing else, and somebody else who's walked this journey before. You always want to have somebody that's more experienced than you are. So I don't think you ever stop having a mentor, at least not for me. So I still have people that I connect with for guidance, for counseling, etc.
And I do too, David. I also have a mentor that holds me accountable. And of course, we always discuss whatever's going on with our lives with God. But then God's always put people in our lives that we can actually go to, that we can feel comfortable, that they're going to listen to us, and we will get the advice or the suggestion that we need at a time when we do need it. And just a point of thought before we go off, it was interesting how I was listening to both of the other two people on the screen, and both of them are still working, but I'm not. But God whispers in our ears. So God told me, Jean, I don't want you to work. I want you to travel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They have a job. I don't want one. Not even a co-host.
That's right. That's
I can't
I mean,
blame
what
you.
you
I
got to
can't
do.
blame
Go
you.
ahead, Bobby. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bobby.
I think we want
I
to
want to
go
anything I
ahead.
want to ask you about the mentor stuff, and then also while you're talking, think about what is the difference between youth and being young. There's a difference, the youth. We always say, is wasted on the youth. So
Mhm.
what's the difference between youth and being young? So first, do you have a mentor or mentors, and then the difference between being young and youth?
Well, I
I'm
don't
gonna.
really have a personal mentor. I know some very good people that I can go to and talk to when I do have a problem or have a situation that I need answering. Um, Dr. Curran B. Lee is one of them. I
Mhm.
can talk to him at any time. He's almost like a brother to me, and we have we've shared some real good moments at a time. Um, my thing is when you're talking to younger people, you have to. I realize too that when we talk about age, ain't nothing but a number. It's a situation where you should be open-minded enough to talk uh, to younger people and have some kind of relationship that they can understand or hear what you're saying in a lot of cases. And that's me. I don't feel like, even though I've gotten older, for some reason, I don't feel old. The only time I really knew that I was recognized the age is when I go someplace and somebody says, "Hey, doc," or "Hey, uh, whatever," to indicate that your age is showing or whatever. But that's the only time. Other than that, I enjoy life, and I think
Dr. Mitchell,
it's a beautiful thing.
and
In
it
terms
is
of the yes,
between youth
in
and
terms
being
of the
young.
difference being youth and being young. So for me, youth obviously is what is referred to as younger people by way of their age and in the category we place them in. Being young for me is a state of mind. You can be as young as you want to. We hear things like 40 is the new 30, 40 is the new 30, or 60 is the new 40. And so a state of mind says that as long as I feel good enough to do it, I can do it. Whether it's something athletic, whether it's something uh, professionally, that if in my mind that I still feel like I'm able to do it, that I can do it. There may be some limitations in terms of the physical limitations because we find that as we age, some of those systems show the aging. But in terms of the energy, the passion, the thought process, that remains youthful as long as you feel youthful, as long as you feel like you can get up and do things. I encourage people to do that. And that's what I found myself. In fact, some of my co-laborers refer to me as a millennial because I'm usually up on a lot of the things. Like you hear Miss Jean is talking about Jill Scott's song. I mean, that's not in our age group, but certainly we're all familiar with it because we're youthful.
I love it.
Yeah. So we're not just bound to our particular age group. I find that many of
Amen.
those seasons now we're doing a little bit of everything, and we're still keeping up. Uh, so being young is a state of mind for me.
Amen.
I agree with
Amen.
that. As we said earlier, age is just a number. Um, to be young is to do what's in your heart to do. As we were talking about young, and then I've got excited again because one of the things I plan to do very, very soon is buy a bicycle and begin to ride a bicycle again at the age of
Mhm.
a young 75-year-old beautiful woman. But the only thing about my
Amen.
bicycle, it has to be one of those bicycles that
Kudos to
it has to have
you.
listen now, it has to have the thick wheels on it and a wide seat. And I'm going to find that bicycle and I'm going to buy it. And that's what I'm going to ride. And now nobody laughing at me and my bicycle because it's going to help my knees and help my exercise and all those kinds of things. So
Amen.
I intend to do that. That's because I am
Amen.
young in the heart and young in the mind. Okay. And again, it's nothing but a number. Okay,
You know
David,
that
back to
that,
you.
Amen.
that but that is perfect. I mean, now we're winding down, but be able to put encapsulate this. This show really is about forever young, and you said
Yes.
it. I think everybody's echoed it. It's really a state of mind, and it's a state of
Mhm.
being. It's like when you stop. Like I've talked to a couple of words that came out of this program that I want our listeners to take away. Somebody said something about volunteerism, which is always something that seniors do. We talked about the next chapter of being willing to have a mentor and learning. So, you get to a point, nobody knows everything. When you stop learning, it's really time to just bye-bye, but
Amen.
and then accountability. Accountability is really a key, because you always need accountability. Whether you're finding new love, there's a period of accountability before you take the next step. I'm sure you went through a courtship process. Even when you change your new careers, to go to that new chapters, there's people watching. Well, are you really able to do that? Can you still do that? I mean, I even faced that when I took on the new challenge at the radio station. I had been away from broadcasting for 30 years. I started in radio, but I left radio 30 years ago to start something new. Was blessed to do well in it and back. And one of the terms was, can you still do that? So when these cats come around saying, you don't know this about that, but we represented hip hop. We were the first one. I bet you everybody in here knows Rapper's Delight. Y'all know the Sugar Hill Gang.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So we all are about that. So again, is about forever young, and we are forever because we know we've got enough experience, and you learn experiences, and we've got enough to share. So, any final quick thoughts? If I had to say, had to give you a one-word definition of wanting to be in this chapter of this life.
In order to stay forever young, read a lot, move a lot, exercise, and do things that you've always wanted to do in your life, as long as it's legal. Thank you.
Dr. Mitchell, that one word describe this chapter.
So for me, I believe that at this point in our life, we need to be thinking about legacy and how we will be remembered. And so I take it serious that, our pastor talks about we got more time on the back end than we have on the front end. And so for me, everything I do must count. The connections I make must count. The time that I spend must count. And so when I'm thinking about what counts, I don't want to only just have things that fulfill me, but I want to be able to make a difference in the lives of others. And so whether that's just serving, whether that's connecting, or whether it's play or fun or work, I still believe that it has to count. And so I'm very deliberate with my time, and they're very deliberate with what opportunities I take and the things that I do in this season of my life. And I think that we all have to have that kind of mindset.
Amen.
Okay, Bobby, real quick.
I value the time. I value my time very, very, very deeply. I want to do things that actually leave an impact on my grandkids and those that I may leave behind. I've still got places I want to go. I want to go to Rome. I want to go to London. I got things I want to do. I'm accountable to the person I'm married now. She have different views in life that actually meets the ones that I have. And I want to just continue to be able to spread the joy and the love of being a real person in real life to those of so many that's actually watching. So my thing is to keep doing what I'm doing, keep believing in God, and
Amen.
Keep trusting that He would have and provide a way for me and my family.
Amen.
All right then. Well, I thank you so much. So the takeaways from this show today is to exercise, travel, and be accountable, and enjoy life, because you are forever young. I'm David Linton, along with Gene Hendricks. I thank our guest, Dr. Mitchell, Bobby Wilburn, for Hope TV, a presentation of House of Hope Atlanta. And we'd like to thank our executive producer, Benton Aladdin, and of course, Dr. E. Dewey Smith, for putting these series of programs on. We have a slate of programs on Hope TV coming your way every day. So make sure that you check us out. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And of course, always remember, no matter what, age ain't nothing but a number, and you are forever young. I'm David C. Linton.
Amen.
Good afternoon.
Amen.